Y'all, I have been so tired the past couple of days. I genuinely I can't get it together, y'all. It doesn't matter how much coffee I drink. I have tried espresso shots. I have tried everything, and I'm still just so damn tired. But this situation, I'm gonna say, came across my desk because I'm technically not like a full time YouTuber and I don't have a designated space to sit down and do content. But this situation came across my desk, aka I was scrolling through YouTube and I was like, okay, this is getting kind of out of hand and I really want to talk about it. Y'all just bear with me. I'm on my third cup of coffee, so I'm sure my energy will pick up somewhere throughout this video. Just bear with me. Alright. So, Rachel Ziegler, okay? Or Zegler. I don't really know how to pronounce her name and I really don't care. But basically, y'all, she's faced so much criticism and backlash for her role in Snow White. And yeah, the conversation is kind of centered around race issue. People are complaining that she's Latina playing somebody who Snow White, they're just mad she's playing Snow White simply because she's Latina. But there's a lot of people who's not necessarily arguing about her role in Snow White as a Latina. They're more so just arguing about the fact that she never seemed like she was a huge fan of the movie in the first place, but still landed this classical role. And people did what people do on the internet. They rise together and they talk shit about it. And she battled back against the internet and the fans, but she's having a hard time battling back against South Park because South Park just recently made an episode talking about this Rachel Ziegler playing Snow White situation and why they didn't directly reference her even though they pulled out Snow White. It's a whole situation.
Eric, it's okay. It's okay.
Ma'am, I had a dream that I was replaced by a diverse woman.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, only this time, it wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy.
Now, when this Snow White came out, a lot of people had a lot of issues with it, and a lot of people had issues with that race swap, and they feel like Disney has been doing this more so recently than they've always done because it's not typically you see a show or a movie, especially a classic such as Snow White or Cinderella, and the characters are so beloved that whenever they do a remake of it, you kind of expect them to keep the same aspects as the previous ones. Of course, they're not all going to be like carbon copies, they're not going to replicate every single thing down to the T, but you do expect there to be similar aspects when you do make a remake of something as classical as Snow White. Now, some comments that Rachel had made about the film that really did not sit right with a lot of people, including myself, I'll admit, I was one of those people who were just like, really, like, are we going to go there with what you're saying right now? And she pretty much had said how the original cartoon came out in 1937, and it was very evidently so, because in her words, there is a huge focus on the love story with a guy who literally stalks her, and said how weird it was, and she said that's why they did not do it this time around in the remake of Snow White. She also stated how this remake of Snow White has a different approach to what a lot of people will assume would be a love story, but she stated that a lot of people are going to assume it's a love story just simply because there's a guy casted in it. Y'all, before we even finish talking about this video today, I just want to give y'all a quick thank you for letting me reach 16,000 subscribers. That has been a huge goal of mine that I never thought I'd be able to reach. And we actually did that, and I don't know why, but this morning I woke up and I was like, literally just hit a milestone of 16,000 subscribers. What am I going to do? Make a controversial video and probably lose half of them just due to the topic of discussion. I try not to be controversial, then I'm uploading a video like this talking about race swapping. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Anyways, I think a lot of people started having an issue, and this started to be a discussion whenever they made that remake of The Little Mermaid, because The Little Mermaid, everybody assumed would be Irish or something, even though, fun fact, it's actually written by a Danish author. So a lot of people are saying Ariel should have been Danish because in the original book that was written in 1836 by the author Hans Christian Andersen, he portrayed Ariel, the Little Mermaid, as white with red hair, and so did Disney's interpretation of the film whenever they casted and made Ariel in 1989. So with the live action remake, when they casted Halle Bailey, a lot of people started bringing up the question of, okay, people have been barking down your necks for a while now, stating that we want more diversity in the films for the kids, and you're going back and kind of rewriting literal classic characters in a race swap. I personally do agree that there is a huge lack of diversity when it comes down to Disney, and we haven't seen them really branch out with different races and ethnicities and characters until recently. And that's drawn the question as to why haven't we seen this before, and we're just now starting to do this now that people have been calling them out for the lack in diversity, but they're going about it in people's alleged feelings the wrong way because they're replacing classic characters with new actresses who, one, don't give a shit about the original film, but then two, change the whole dynamic with the race aspect. And I feel like personally that shouldn't make or break the movie for somebody, but I do understand that argument of, okay, we wanted more diversity, but not for you to necessarily rewrite history with these characters. Anyways, back to the Rachel Zegler situation with Snow White. A lot of people have been shouting cultural appropriation with this whole situation about her playing Snow White in the film, and I think that it's important to note this was written back in 1812. And in the books and even in the films, she was described as having skin as white as snow, but they never said, oh, she is a X race. You know what I mean? They never like slapped a race on Snow White. So I don't know. I feel like the whole situation's a little bit silly, but at the same time, I feel like the comments that Rachel made about the film itself is what has people most upset about the situation, not necessarily the alleged race swap that they was doing. Also, I feel like Rachel saying that this was like a love story and it was intended to be a love woo, basically, I feel like that was wrong as well, and I feel like she just must have interpreted it that way on her own. Just in my opinion, I feel like the original fairy tale of Snow White doesn't necessarily focus on that relationship, the conflict between her and that evil stepmother. And the prince's role in the movie was just more so literally to play a rescue element, just like we see in other movies with princes where they rescue the princess. It's typically could lead to that love story, but at the same time, princes in the movies and roles with princesses are typically just there for that rescue element. I feel like the main focus of Snow White was with that evil queen because it was the queen's obsession with her own beauty, was the whole desire for her to eliminate Snow White so that the queen can be the fairest in the land and not Snow White. And fairest in the land, hello, does not go back to the skin color. It goes back to translating to the most beautiful woman in the whole valley. And that was like the whole plot and storyline for Snow White, was that conflict with her evil ass stepmother for wanting to be the most beautiful woman there. So she wanted to take out Snow White, and the prince's role was primarily just there to find Snow White in the forest, give her that kiss, rejuvenate the bitch, because there was little to no development prior to that scene with their relationship. And a lot of people were kind of talking shit, saying, we understand this wasn't going to be a carbon copy of the original Snow White, but if you are going to remake it, you've got to keep similar aspects and keep the characters pretty much the same. You can't alter them completely. And a lot of people are saying that it seems like Disney is trying to just rewrite Snow White in its entirety. Also, a lot of people are calling out the fact that this was supposed to be a live action film, aka they're taking animation and transferring it and replacing those characters with real life people for this live action film. And a lot of people are talking shit that they just did away with the doors completely. They're still in the movie, so it's not like they're gone, but a lot of people are saying, why couldn't they just go on to hire dwarves to play in the role of the dwarves in the movie instead of keeping them animated as well? A lot of people feel like if you want diversity and you're creating a live action film to do so, why are you not including the dwarves?
I believe a little person, one person with dwarfism, and now they're just completely cut. There will be no dwarf actors at all working on this film, and in a live action, which means we're supposed to translate from animation to real life people.
Timeless values that we all loved growing up that are sadly being forgotten in this new adaptation. I also don't know who is more excited, this guy or me, because the way he was bouncing in that video was absolutely insane. But somebody said, who's playing Snow White, Ben or Brett? I can't even tell. Never heard that joke before. That's really clever.
Complaint about Snow White. How they're gonna sum that up and fix it, I have no idea. please, please, please don't make it something where she's like asking him, or like it's her. She's the one who actually makes the kiss happen in the end. I don't know.
You know what personally makes me so frustrated about this entire thing isn't the fact that they are race swapping necessarily for diversity. I feel like they're not really giving diversity. I feel like they are just simply doing this stupid ass marketing scheme and almost rage bait to an extent, taking classical characters and just swapping them to whatever they think is going to be best to get them diversity points, okay? They want it to look like they're adding more diversity to the Disney films and market, when in actuality they're just rewriting classical films and stories to fit kind of the narrative and agenda that they want for Disney to have right now, which is diversity. And I feel like that takes away and makes it super inauthentic, adding diversity to Disney going about it that way. And that's just my opinion. I feel like they really wanted to add diversity to Disney. This is something that should have been in the works. This is something that should have been discussed. And they need their own classical characters. And I feel like them rewriting other classical characters just to push a diversity narrative with Disney, in my opinion, is just the wrong way to go about it. Now, before y'all take this entire video wrong, I just want to say my coffee kicked in, so I'm starting to get my energy up. But also, I probably did not explain everything in this video as well as I intend for it to come across. I feel like it's a great thing that Disney is trying, keyword trying, to add more diversity to the films and content that they produce via Disney. But I think if they want to add diversity and make it truly authentic to where it would mean something to anybody, they need to go about it in the proper way, and rewriting history with literal classical fairy tales is not the way to do it. I feel like every little girl and little boy should be able to have that dream of growing up and being a princess or a prince, but they are going to have characters that they can also relate to and watch in. And I feel like if they had proper diverse representation in Disney, that would really go a long way for kids globally. But I feel like taking characters who have already been written through history multiple times in multiple books and multiple movies, you can't take a classical character and just give them a race swap to earn diversity points. And I feel like that's exactly what Disney is doing. Again, I think the lack of diversity is definitely a question and a conversation that needs to be had when it comes down to Disney films in general, and especially the stories. But I feel like, again, if they want to do it in an authentic way, they need to come up with more characters and add diversity to the already pre-existing films that are out there. But I think that you can't just take a character and rewrite it in its entirety and then try to pass it off as, hey, look, diversity, because it just don't work that way. Anyways, I just hit 16,000 subscribers and I probably just lost half of them with this video, but hey, it is what it is. I wanted to start branching out, and I am branching out, and I'm going to start talking about anything that I come across that I want to talk about. That being said, I know a lot of y'all are probably shaking your head at this video because, one, the conversation that we just had, but then two, the gameplay that is involved in the video. And as I said, it's not going to be here for every single one of my videos moving forward, but if y'all want me to start being able to produce more content and being able to talk about more subjects with y'all, the gameplay is much easier to have in the background for filler content because it gives me more time to work on the content and not the editing. So with that being said, I want to know what y'all think about anything we just discussed in today's video in the comment section down below. I feel like this is a very important conversation that needs to be had, even if y'all don't agree with every single point that I made, or even if y'all don't agree with anything that I just damn said. Let me know in the comment section down below, because this would be a great open conversation to have. And with that being said now, I will catch y'all in the next damn video.